Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. It's my pleasure to have with us here today Jason Allen Jankovsky. He book authored The Art of the Trade. Jason, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Great. My pleasure to be here.
Good. Jason, now listen, do you believe it's possible to develop a trading strategy by using as a basis, Jason, a common losing strategy that many beginning traders use?
Well, if you're asking me what I think you're asking me, are you saying, if you know enough about how losers think and how losers trade, you watch what they're doing and do the opposite? Is that what you're asking me?
Sure, absolutely, Jason.
Yeah. Well, that's the basis behind my entire winning approach.
Yeah, all right. So what's your motivation for writing such a book? In fact, some would even say it's blunt as ever could be. And what's your reason for writing it?
Everybody asks me that, and what I tell them the easy answer is I wrote it for myself. I wanted to document what I went through,
Sure.
And after I had a chance to finish it, I'm not an author. I'm a trader.
Right. Well, give us some history on that then, Jason. Quickly, give us your background when you traded where?
Well, I started trading in 1986 as a customer.
Yeah.
I was in another field as a young man.
Yeah.
And learning how to trade wasn't on my mind. Making money was on my mind, and that was my biggest hindrance for many years. Is I didn't understand the nature of what I was doing, and so I got beat up pretty bad. However, I love what I've discovered about the markets. The whole idea of being able to be short was something I'd never heard of before. So, literally, the markets were an unlimited opportunity base, and I said, "This is capitalism. This is what I want to do." And what I learned is that it's not quite that easy.
Right.
And so,
all right. So you traded for a while.
And I became a registered Series 3 broker and worked in the industry of futures options for many years.
Yeah.
And now I trade on my own. I'm not registered anymore. I trade on my own, and I trade Forex futures options exclusively.
Sure.
I have some stocks, but that's for retirement.
Right.
And basically, what I do is exploit what I've learned over the past 23 years, and hopefully try to do it better than anyone else.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about regulation, free market, deregulation in today's environment. What do you think of regulations and also the regulatory agencies that oversee these?
Well, let's hope none of the regulators are listening while I'm talking.
They probably are.
Yeah. I wrote part of the book. I wrote my personal experience with the regulatory environment, and I call that's one of the chapters in there. It's called The Trading Police.
Right.
And at the time that I wrote it, and since then, my opinion is that the regulators, I think, have lost touch with the true element and design of what regulation is for. There's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law.
Right.
And I look at the current regulatory environment as being oppressive to people who are really trying to serve the best interests of their customers. If you're trading on your own, the regulatory environment is different. It has to do with how the money is held. It has to do with, who's clearing what and are they obeying the rules.
Sure.
But when you're a broker or you're somebody who says, look, I want to build my life in this industry, I want to serve clients in this industry, if you did that, the regulators, I think, are way over the edge on the wrong side.
Yeah, where are they squeezing you the most on the client or on the issuer side and on the business side? Where are they squeezing you? Because let's face it, it's a huge liability to be in that business, isn't it?
Well, it's a liability if the regulators think, starting from day one, that you're a crook, and that's what they do. They assume everybody that's in the business of serving customers is out to hurt people, and that's where the problem lies. And so they load you up with stuff that's ridiculous, doesn't do anything to help the client.
Yeah.
And if there's a complaint, they assume that you're guilty and you've got to prove your innocence. That's really the problem. So, you could spend your whole life operating completely in the white as far as ethics, personal integrity, fiduciary responsibility. You could spend your whole life working in the white, get one complaint from a sore loser.
Yeah.
The regulators will look at who else you screwing, and then they pile on top of you all kinds of stuff you got to do, and you spend $100,000 a year trying to defend yourself from people.
Right.
Then these guys never trade. You go over to any of the regulatory authorities and say, show me people in this business of regulating. Show me the people that have actually traded in these markets. They won't be able to do that.
Well, there's a couple scenarios there, too. For instance, you could have 10 regulators in a room, and they would interpretate the law 10 different ways. And let's face it, if they want to be rogue and want to make a name for themselves, then they can squeeze you all day long, and you're doing nothing but spending a ton of dough to defend yourself.
Right, and that's where I think the problem is. It's not that regulation is bad. I'm all for proper regulation.
You need it.
You have to. But see, the thing is that if you're operating in a business that requires fiduciary responsibility, if you're a straight up guy, you don't need the regulators because you already know you don't lie to your client. You already know you don't over leverage. You don't do trades without authorization. You already know that.
Yeah, I know.
But the regulators really don't help anybody who's trying to do this right, in my view.
Yeah. They, like you said, it always comes back to the mentality. They think everybody's a crook. I know people in your business, and they try to get shaken down all the time. Somebody makes a wrong trade, it's your fault. It's not their fault. They're not the ones that, they're the ones that press the sell button or the buy button, and they're the ones that gave the instructions, regardless of what you consulted with them on. But it always comes back to you, right?
Right. Well, that's the tendency. Like you said, if you get a guy who is isn't trying to be a problem, really wants to do regulation right, that's great. But the problem with that is that's a crapshoot. The guy that walks into your office, some android that's just told this is how we do it.
Right.
You end up with problems through no fault of your own, and that's actually why I left the industry. I'll just be straight with that.
Sure.
Those that are listening, is that if I ran my own brokerage firm, I sat down and I asked guys. I said, run their own brokerage firm.
Yeah.
What's the regulatory issues going to really be like? And they said, you got to put aside 20% of your gains to fight these people.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so if I'm making $1 million a year, I got to spend $200,000 on legal problems, and I'm not creating.
Yeah, there's got to be another there's got to be another clean business that you can get into, right? And why not just trade for yourself?
Right. Well, that's the thing, is I think everybody wants to learn how to do that. That's why what I do now is I focus on education. That's why I do my daily internet briefings and produce a newsletter and all the rest, is I try to educate people on what I've learned. And I tell people all the time, I said, look, I'm not the last word on how to get educated on this, but I'll tell you, if you learn to do this on your own, the world becomes your oyster, and that's really what you want. Right. You want to take control of your own finances. So if you're in a position where you can afford to stop working and trade full-time, then here's the risks you take, and here's what worked for me, and I'll educate you as best I can with what I know.
All right, in the art of the trade, we got about 2 minutes left, Jason. In the art of the trade, so if somebody's new and they're coming out, do you outline the risks that are involved in trading, how to avoid them, and where to look for opportunities?
Well, I do some of that, but it's really not designed as the whole story was more along what I personally learned about those issues.
Right.
Everyone, I think, can share a lot of what I went through, but I can't say, look, here's how it's done, and it's the only way. That wouldn't be fair. But the risk is the risk. You could end up losing money, and you may run out of money before you figure out how to do this. That happened to me 3 times. The only difference between, I think, why I'm here where I'm at now and where I was is because I just never quit.
Right. All right. Now, if there's one thing in the art of the trade that you really want to stand out, let everybody know about, what would it be?
The one thing I want to stand out about?
Sure. I mean, if there's one thing that's really stood out in the art of the trade that you want everybody to know about, because obviously we couldn't go through the 20 great things in the book. If there was one thing, what would it be, Jason?
Trading isn't what you think it is.
What is it?
It's not about the markets. Trading has very little to do with the markets. It has all to do with inner discipline, and that's something that most people just don't develop to begin with.
Would that inner discipline, would that be rules that a trader would set up for themselves and follow religiously?
Great question. If I can go ahead and plug my first book for Wiley, it was called Trading Rules That Work.
Nice.
28 essential lessons traders must master. And in there, I took a look at what was considered to be the basic rules that everybody agrees are good things to do, but they really don't know how to personalize it. So I went in and I said, look, here's what I learned about these types of rules and why they're important. And I do have trading rules that I enforce on myself.
Right.
Every day, that they may not work for other people. And that's all based on understanding your personal needs as a trader, based on your growth pattern, what you know about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's part of the
all right, you can give
process of learning.
Jason, give us the name of that first book once again.
Trading Rules That Work.
Okay. All right, Trading Rules That Work. Okay, and they can find that on Amazon?
Yeah, both of them are on Amazon. In fact, I haven't checked lately, but last time I checked, they were both Trading Rules and The Art of the Trade were listed under the top 100 under business, finance, and futures, I think.
Very, very nice. Today our author is Jason Allen Jankovsky, and a book today is The Art of the Trade. What I learned trading the Chicago futures markets. Get a copy today. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, wherever fine books are sold, you can get a copy of it today. Jason, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You're more than welcome. All right, head out today. Your favorite bookstore, get a copy of The Art of the Trade. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. We'll be right back.